Senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett. Laura, what about other legal exposure that Hunter Biden is facing?
Lester, that's always been the question, whether those tax charges are the end of the road or there's even more. Remember, if the plea deal had gone through, he would have pled guilty to some of those tax misdemeanors, and then that would have been the end of the story. But now there could be other charges that they could add on top of this, and it's just hard to know exactly how big his exposure is. We do know, though, as Hallie mentioned, he's going to go to trial in September on 9 counts, including tax evasion and essentially spending his money on all kinds of other things but his taxes, according to the government. Now, the defense would push back and say he eventually repaid all of that, so no harm, no foul. But of course, that's not how the law works. And now that we see this guilty verdict, it'd be interesting to see whether his legal advice is that he needs to plead guilty to those charges to avoid yet another conviction from a jury in that case. He obviously has the option now to plead guilty to the tax charges in September. I'm not suggesting that he will. I'm just saying that's now on the table, and it may be a consideration given how this case turned out. In some ways, the tax charge is more serious, Lester, and certainly the facts quite damning. A lot of evidence there, more text messages, more evidence, all sort of part of this long period of anguish and struggles. Again, his mental health struggles, the addiction, the abuse will be part of that as well. But there will be a lot more embarrassing evidence about all the things he was spending money on instead of his taxes, Lester.
All right. Thank you, Laura. For more, let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Kristen Gibbons-Fadden. How complicated a case was this against Hunter, or was it not complicated at all?
I don't think it was complex at all, Lester. I think it was pretty straightforward. In this particular case, there was only 3 charges. And in those 3 charges, really the prosecution just had to show, 1, that Biden was lying to a federally licensed gun dealer, right? That was when he filled out the form. 2, that he was making a false claim on the federal firearms application, again, the same set of facts, and that he possessed an illegally obtained gun for a certain period of time in October of 2018. Again, the same conduct. So even though there were 3 charges, all of it surrounded the same episodic criminal act, which was lying on a federal form to obtain a gun. And really the prosecution just had to show, 1, that he was lying, but then 2, the addiction. And I think that's where it became a little bit difficult, because with addiction, you can't really show that someone was actively using unless you ask that person when they get on the stand. And we know that most defendants don't take the stand. And we know in this case, Hunter Biden did not take the stand. So they weren't able to ask him directly, but certainly all of the evidence that they put on, all of the family members that they put on certainly showed that beyond a reasonable doubt, obviously, as the jury stated.
All right, Kristen, thanks very much. Let's go back to Ryan Nobles outside the courthouse. Obviously, we couldn't see. This is a live picture, actually, we're looking at right now. I believe I saw with Dr. Jill, the
yes,
First Lady. They're
live.
getting in the vehicle right now. As we look at this, Ryan Nobles, what are we hearing from inside the courtroom? I know things have been delayed by the fact we can't have cameras in there. What are we hearing about the reaction?
Yeah, first of all, Lester, you are correct. That is a live picture of Hunter Biden